Hi-ho, Tudor-minded people. It's Philadelphia Carrie for Tudor Time Machine. Tudor Files. I must tell you of a lady, dear to me, whom I shall not name for fear of casting ill repute upon her, who has been most unfortunate. She did give birth to a babe ill-formed, and with scales upon its head, that died almost as it took its first breath. Now 'tis whispered at court that this child was conceived when the lady had her courses, and some of the more venomous say that her lord husband should be punished for lying with her. 'Tis said in one of the holy tomes, I cannot remember which, they are all so frightening, they make a muddle in my mind. Menstruous women shall bring forth monsters, and my friend did bring forth a monster indeed. She thinks to retire to the country until the shame of her and her lord's uncleanness shall be forgot. Oh, had Eve not eaten the apple and brought so much shame upon women? For this sin of Eve's we all suffer the pains and mortification of the miserable malady of menstruation.
Menstruation is a mortifying, miserable malady? Oh no. How now, Tudor Files? What think you? If you're new here, I'm Gage.
I'm Jessica.
And we're here with our Tudor time traveler, Philadelphia Carrie.
And listen to Tudor Time Machine's Out Brief Candle podcast, in which I solve a bloody murder at the Globe Theatre. Listen on Spotify or your favorite streaming service while you are gadding about. And subscribe on YouTube and give me a like.
Tudor Files are an amazing bunch. Every one of you has the intelligence of Isabella and the courage of Imogen. Philadelphia, let me be clear. Your poor friend did not have a deformed baby because she had sex with her husband while she was having her period. That is not possible.
Not possible? How ignorant you are! Do you understand nothing? Have you not read your Leviticus?
I do not rely on Leviticus to tell me about menstruation. I rely on science.
Philadelphia is probably referring to Leviticus 18:19. Do not approach a woman to have sexual relations during the uncleanness of her monthly period. And Leviticus 20:18, if a man lies with a woman during her monthly period and has sexual relations with her, he has exposed the source of her flow, and she has uncovered her fountain of blood. Both of them are to be cut off from their people. And I think the quote about women having their period bringing forth monsters is from the Apocrypha.
I feel so sad that throughout history, women have had to deal with so much shame about their bodies.
I know, it's awful. I've read that women were not supposed to take any medications that might alleviate the pain of their periods because they were supposed to suffer. I mean, again, it all goes back to Eve's, quote, sin of eating the apple.
Is that true, Philadelphia?
Yes, 'tis so. But I must tell the truth. I sometimes have taken a draught when the pains have racked my bowels. There were so many misconceptions about menstrual blood. It all seems so confusing and crazy and hard to make sense of for us now. But because there was no knowledge connecting periods to hormones, there was an idea that women kept menstruating while pregnant and that the menstrual blood formed the womb and then it weirdly backed up and turned into breast milk?
That is an absolutely bizarre solve of what's happening physically.
I know, it's crazy. It is not. It is true. The blood turns white and comes from the breasts. Also, if there is too much blood, it can suffocate the woman and she can die of it. Oh!
That is not a thing that happens.
I mean, I guess the idea was the blood would back up and fill the lungs. And I'm just wondering if maybe a woman had a heart attack or something like a stroke when they were giving birth and they thought it was the menstrual blood impacting her breathing.
I'm sure they were trying to figure out something, what might be happening, but it's just crazy. Philadelphia, it's a monthly thing. How did you manage menstrual blood?
There are many who think it is best to secret oneself away during the bloody time, for the blood can be harmful to others.
We have the Bible to thank for this idea that menstrual blood is harmful, because the Bible says when a woman has a discharge of blood, the impurity of her period lasts 7 days. Anyone who touches her is unclean until evening. The weird evening thing, I don't understand either. That seems very specific. Anyway, it goes on to say, everything on which she lies or sits during her period is unclean. Anyone who touches her bed or anything on which she sits must wash his clothes and bathe in water. He remains unclean until evening. And why this emphasis on evening? I don't understand that part. I don't understand any of it. But clearly this is what Philadelphia and people of her time period were suffering from, this idea that this menstrual blood was dangerous and unclean.
And unclean to their soul.
Not just unclean, like you don't want to get it.
But it's like it's on their souls until evening comes. And in kind of the anti-vampire way, the evening clears their souls. It's so strange.
But I can't believe women in the Tudor period and in the medieval period up until now, like shut themselves away for 7 days. They had queens to serve and countries to run and country houses and farms and jobs. I mean, it's just so impractical.
'Tis so, and thus one keeps their shame secret.
Okay, so no shame, Philadelphia. That is the lesson for today. There is no shame.
Well, I shall not argue with you, pod lady, who knows nothing. But I can tell you that one can use rags close to one's privy parts. My good maid Jane has made me a most useful garment, like a loincloth, that holds the cloths in place. And sometimes she makes a little bag of linen filled with herbs with a little string to remove it. Or she might make a little wad of sheep's wool and also put a string on it.
So kind of like an early incarnation of a tampon?
I think so. But I also wonder if women got infections from putting linen and wool. It wasn't necessarily super clean, or it's a little worrisome.
It might have been their best option. I don't know.
Well, if one suffers very much from too much blood.
Like a heavy flow.
I think that's what she means.
If one suffers too much from too much blood, one can have one servant catch a toad, and then one servant can burn it in a pot, and take the burnt toad remains and place them in a bag, and one can wear the bag around one's waist, and then one's blood will stop.
No one's blood will stop because of a burnt toad around the waist. It just won't happen. Philadelphia, periods happen because of hormones.
What are these hormones? Are they like the humours? I do not think so. I shall not listen to you. You are a heretic. The miserable malady of menstruation is women suffering for Eve's sin. Avant, Tudorphiles. Select your Tudor Time Machine garb. It is in the Podbean and YouTube descriptions. You may find it at TudorTimeMachineCreatorSpring.com. Give heed, Tudorphiles. Listen in next time. Subscribe on YouTube and give me a like.